الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد يا مرحبا بكم وجزاكم الله خيرا. When looking at this topic, obtaining success and prosperity, a lot of things came to mind. There are a lot of things that enter into this topic that are very vital and incumbent for each and every one of us to know so that we are able to attain this prosperity and this success. So, with that being the case and with there being so many things that we can discuss, it came to mind that there is something linked to this topic that doesn't get a lot of discussion, but it's something that is very important as relates to the health of an individual, the health of his heart or the health of her heart, the health of their mental health, their sanity, and the like. It is linked to these things. And bila shak wa bila raib, all of these things, then they enter into success, they enter into prosperity. And that, firstly, let me say, as a reminder, as relates to the topic in which I want to discuss, is that I want everyone to bear in mind the bigger picture. That being that there's not a single one from amongst us except that he or she will die. Bila shak wa bila raib. Undoubtedly, without doubt. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Every soul shall taste death. Naam, every soul shall taste death. And there's none of us that is going to be here in this land and this world forever. But there will come a point when we will no longer be here. The poet, he said a beautiful line of poetry which draws this attention, or draws our attention to this fact, and that is, as he mentioned, تَرْجُ الْبُقَى بِدَارٍ لَا بَقَاءٌ لَهَا هَلْ سَمِعْتَ بِظِلٍّ غَيْرُ مُنْتَقِلٍ. He said, you want to stay in a place, you want to stay in an abode on which there is no staying in it. You want to stay in an abode where there's nothing that will remain the same inside of that abode. And then he brings a very good example. He says, have you ever heard of a shade that doesn't move? Have you ever heard of shade that doesn't move? As we know, the shade, it moves, correct? As the day goes, it gets longer, then it gets shorter, then it's, the same place that you're sitting in. If you sit there long enough, you will go from being shaded to not being shaded. Naam, because the shaded moves. And this is the nature of the dunya. There's nothing inside of this dunya except that it's temporary. Right? There's nothing inside of this dunya except that it's temporary. And that which is guaranteed for each and every one of us is that there will come a point where we leave this dunya. We will no longer be here. We will die. Naam. And we understand that the true success and prosperity is when an individual is entered into the Jannah. Is when an individual is entered into the Jannah. Naam. But we know that we have to work and put forward righteous good deeds if we are truly looking forward to going to the Jannah. Naam. Another poet, he mentions, he says, لا دار للمرء بعد الموت يسكنها إلا التي كان قبل الموت يبنيها فإن بناها بخير طاب مسكنه وإن بناها بشر خاب بانيها. He said that there is no abode for a person after death to live in it. There is no abode for a person after death, yani to be in that abode, except for that in which the person builds before he dies. If he builds it with good, then his abode will be good. And if he builds it with evil, then he would have destroyed, he would have polluted, he would have corrupted his abode. Naam. This here is very important. It's very important that we know and we remember, we understand the likes of this fact. Naam. The ulama, they mention that the statement, as the Prophet ﷺ, as he told us, it is a treasure from the treasures of Jannah, and that is the statement, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Naam. That there is no power, no might except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. More accurately, there is no change in situations except by the permission, the power, and the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are incapable of changing a situation. We are incapable of changing a bad situation to a good situation. Why? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no change from situation to situation except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something that is vital and something that is important for us to know and to understand and to hold on to and to cling on to, especially if we want success and we want prosperity. There is another statement that it is known to all of us, but its reality, Allahu A'lam, if we realize it. And that is the statement, Inna lillahi, as it comes in the ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That verily we belong unto Allah, and unto Allah is our return. We belong unto Allah Azza wa Jal, because Allah Azza wa Jal, He owns us. We are His creatures. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has created us. So thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He can do to us whatever He wants to do to us. We are His property. Naam. We belong unto Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He will test us. As He has told us, He will test us. He will test us with hunger. He will test us with fear. He will test us with the loss of life, the loss of wealth, the loss of property, the loss of profits, and so on and so forth. Naam. And unto Allah are we returning. We are returning unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this means that in the light of everything that comes to us in life, we have to look at our actions. We have to check our actions if we want success and prosperity. We have to look at our actions and check our actions if we want success and prosperity, because we are returning back unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will hold us accountable for what we have done in this life. He will hold us accountable for what we have done in this life. So I want you to take what was aforementioned as your foundation, because this is what's going to be the motivation in the topic in which I want to share with you. This is what's going to be our foundation. This was going to be help us and our motivating factor in dealing with the topic in which I want to present unto you. Because bila shak wa bila rayb, if we want to be successful, if we want to attain prosperity, if we want to attain success, then we have to learn how to deal with calamity. We have to learn how to deal with calamity. And in particular, calamity in general, calamity in general, but particularly the calamity as it comes from the harms of the people. The calamity as it comes from the harms of the people. We have to be able to have the proper understanding and look at it and have the proper perspective when we are harmed by the people. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, has a tremendous book on this topic. Tremendous. And if anyone knows the biography of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, then they will know how vital and how crucial and how important these words are, especially coming from him. And all of the trials and tribulations that he went through, that was a result from the hands of the people harming him due to his da'wah, the people harming him due to the envy that they had for him, and so on and so forth. But Shaykh al-Islam, rahmatullah alayhi, he is one who to this day we still benefit from his works, one who we all know his name, one who is praised by the scholars due to his knowledge, due to his efforts, due to his striving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas those who harmed him, those who came against him, those who plotted and connived against him, so on and so forth, none of us, or we should say more better, none know their names except for the scholars and the students and the historians and the like. But for the most part, most people don't even know who they are. They are not even to be mentioned except to be mentioned in a bad light, due to their plotting, due to their treachery, so on and so forth. Na'am. Whereas the one who they plotted against, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, does anyone know where he died? Where he died? Does anyone know where he died? Huh? It's not rhetorical. I want to answer. Where did he die? Huh? He died in prison. Falsely imprisoned. Due to who? His enemies. But when one understands the bigger picture, right? And I don't mean the ultimate bigger picture, because Allah Ta'ala a'lam on the end result. We don't promise for anyone the Jannah nor the hellfire except for if we have a text. Correct? This is our aqeedah of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But we mean, when we look back at the bigger picture meaning, if we were to classify who was a winner based on what was aforementioned, then we would say it was who? Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. People are still benefiting from his works. And whoever points to a good, he gets the reward of what? He gets that reward, correct? People are still benefiting from his works when it comes to aqeedah, when it comes to akhlaq, when it comes to fiqh, when it comes to, still benefiting from the works of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Whereas those evil individuals from Ahlul Bid'ah that harmed him, that lied against him, and so on and so forth, at the end, then who was the losers? Them. Naam, bila shak wa bila rayb, undoubtedly, no doubt. Ala kulli hal, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he wrote this tremendous book. This was something that I first went over it inside of a khutbah, a few of the points. So those points that I went over in the khutbah some time ago, right? Bidnillahi ta'ala, just as just to go over them, because it wasn't inside of this setting, we're going to go over them, but in a more quick fashion. Now, and then when it comes to the points in which I wasn't able to really get into in the khutbah, then we'll slow down and we'll go through it more in depth and more in detail. Ala kullin, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he mentions, he says, يُعِينُ الْعَبْدَ عَلَى الصَّبْرِ عِدَّةُ الْأَشْيَاءِ. He said that what will aid an individual upon having patience, meaning patience upon what? Upon the harms of the people, then there are a few things. There are a number of things, we should say. A number of things. أحدها, the first of them, and I really want everybody to really pay close attention to this. Because for many of us, this may not necessarily be where our brains take us when people harm us. Naam. But it's important that we take our minds there, because within what the Shaykh is going to mention, it really highlights the reality of the situation. Naam. The Shaykh, he mentions, Shaykh al-Islam, he says, أن يشهد أن الله سبحانه وتعالى خالق أفعال العباد. He said is that an individual, he has to recognize, he has to see and to witness and to recognize and realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who creates the actions of the slaves. Na'am. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who creates the actions of the slaves. حركاتهم وسكناتهم وإراداتهم, their movements, their being still, their wants, desires, and the like. فَمَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ كَانَ وَمَا لَمْ يَشَاء لَمْ يَكُنْ. So whatever Allah wills is, and whatever He does not will is not. فَلَا يَتَحَرَّكْ فِي الْعَالَمِ الْعُلْوِ وَالسُّفْلِ ذَرَّ إِلَّا بِإِثْنِهِ وَمَشِيئَتِهِ. So there is no movement inside of the high, the world, the high of it, nor the low of it, not even the weight of an atom or the like of an atom, except by the will and by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَالْعِبَادِ آلَةً. So the slaves, they are tools. They are tools. Naam. فَانظُرْ. This is very important. The slaves, they are tools. So when something happens, if someone from the creation oppresses you, if someone from the creation harms you, if someone from the creation speaks bad about you, if someone from the creation slanders you, whatever the case may be, from the many ways in which the creation, they harm each other. Naam. Most of us, the first thing we do is we focus in on the perpetrator. We focus in on the person who has done us harm. But this shouldn't be your look. This shouldn't be your first look, nor your second look. Really, it shouldn't be. But rather, as Shaykh al-Islam mentions, he says, فَانظُرْ إِلَّا الَّذِي سَلَّطَهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. Look to the one who has set them loose upon you. Look to the one who has put them upon you. نعم. وَلَا تَنظُرْ إِلَى فِعْلِهِمْ بِكَ. And don't look to what they're doing to you. Don't look to what they're doing to you. Meaning that when you go through these trials and these tribulations, whatever these trials and tribulations may be, whoever the perpetrator is, whether the perpetrator is someone who you knew, someone you didn't know, someone that was a close friend of yours, someone that wasn't a close friend of yours, whether that perpetrator was your spouse, whether the husband or was the wife, whatever the case is, don't focus in on that individual, but rather look to the one who has set that individual up over you to do whatever it is they had done to you. Don't look to that person and what they have done to you, but put your focus upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put your focus upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because remember, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no change in situations, no power, no might except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma sha'a Allah kan wa ma lam yasha lam yakun. Whatever Allah wills is, whatever He does not will is not. So if your situation is going to change from bad to better, then who is going to do that for you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Who's going to do that for you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So looking in on the one who has harmed you is really what? A waste of your time, is it not? It's a waste of your time, a waste of your energy. So when you look to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you look to, as someone of Salafy, قال بعد السلف, من أصلح ما بينه وبين الله أصلح الله ما بينه وبين الخلق. That whoever has rectified that which between him and Allah, or between her and Allah, then Allah will rectify that which is between them and the creation. Do you understand this? Whoever rectifies that which is between them and Allah, then Allah will rectify that which is between them and the creation. Alhamdulillah, we just came out of Ramadan. Right? How many of us make so many excuses throughout the year when as it relates to the voluntary fast? How many of us make so many excuses? I'm working, right? I got to work really hard today. I really need that Gatorade, man. I really need that lunch, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to fast today. And then we go by like that for months and we don't fast. Because we soup ourselves up into thinking, I can't do it. But then Ramadan comes and we knock out 29, 30 days. MashaAllah, what happened? So you need Gatorade. You did it. Same amount of work, correct? But we out of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, you can do it. Alhamdulillah. So, when something like this happens to us, do we ever stop and think, subhanallah, maybe I should fast more? Maybe I should fast better. How many of us fast and the day we fast is like the day we don't fast? That's a problem. The day that we fast shouldn't be like the same like the day that we don't fast. Now, Maybe I should fast better. How many of us, something bad happened, think, let me go back to my intentions, my ikhlas, my sincerity, some deficiencies. Let me look back to my prayer. Let me look back to my prayer. Am I praying in the most excellent of manners? Am I praying the way I should be praying? Am I praying my sunnah prayers? None of us, do we do this type of review of ourselves and of our own situations? Because whoever rectifies that which is between him and Allah, Allah will rectify that which is between him and the creation. So a lot of times the fix is easy. You ain't even got to worry about the person and what the person done did and what the person done said. Just rectify that which is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everything else will fall into place. Now Allah will put everything else straight for you. But the Shaykh, he says, tastarih. If a person, he focuses like this, and he doesn't focus in on the perpetrator, but he focuses in on looking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and rectifying his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he will become safe. He will be, what's it say? He will become at ease. He will become at ease from worry and from anxiety. From worry and from anxiety. And whoever is able to become at ease from worry and anxiety, does that not increase their mental health? Does that not increase the quality of their mental health and of their sanity? That helps you. You understand? So, in order to attain success and prosperity, we have to learn how to deal with calamities. Secondly, Shaykh al-Islam, he mentioned, this is very important. They're all very important, right? He mentioned, secondly, he says, الثاني مما يعين العبد على هذا الصبر, that which would aid the slave upon this patience, and yashhada dhunubah, he has to acknowledge his sins. He has to acknowledge his sins. Yes, if somebody does something bad to you, blame yourself. Blame yourself. This is because of a sin. This is because of a sin. Shaykh al-Islam, he goes on and he says, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ إِنَّمَا سَلَّطَهُمْ عَلَيْهِ بِذَنْبِهِ, that verily Allah has only set these individuals up against him due to his sin. That's why they were able to say what they said. That's why they were able to do what they have done. Because of a sin that person has. كَمَا قَالَ تَعَالَى, as Allah Ta'ala, he says in Surah Ash-Shura, verse number 30. Surah Ash-Shura, verse number 30. Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ, whatever has touched you from a calamity is due to what your own hands have put forward. It's because of what your own hands have earned. Because of what your own hands have earned. But I want you to contemplate upon this, because listen, if we make the connection between the calamity that strikes us and between the sins that our own hands have put forward, it'll give you a better understanding of the last part of this ayah, and it'll give you, perhaps it should give you extreme motivation in turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with tawbah. Extreme motivation to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in tawbah. Because Allah ta'ala here in this ayah says, وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, and he pardons much. Meaning that what? It's not every single sin that you do that some misfortune is going to touch you because of it. Because if that was the case, we'll all be destroyed. None of us would be here right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَيَعْفُوا عَنْ كَثِيرٍ, and he pardons much. So this should be an extreme encouragement for us to what? To get rid of as much sin as we can get rid of. To make tawbah unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To repent unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to increase in repentance unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِذَا شَهِدَ عَبْدُ أَنَّ جَمِيعَ مَا يَنَالُهُ مِنَ الْمَكْرُوهِ فَسَبَبُهُ ذُنُوبُهُ اشتغل بالتوبة واستغفار من الذنوب التي سلطهم عليه بسببها عن ذمهم ولومهم ووقيعة فيهم. He says, and if an individual acknowledges, if the slave acknowledges that all of that which touches him from unfortunate things and things that he does not like and things that are distasteful, then it is due to their sins. Now I want everyone to think about this, because listen, the shaitan, he only been out but for a few days. You understand? And it was locked up in Ramadan. He been out for a few days. How many marriages are being tried right now? Some marriages lost already. Ain't even been a full week, right? What's the day? Yom Malish. Huh? Almost. It's Maghrib now, so okay, full week. Wait. Now? Sah? And he already made so much mischief. But with all that being the case, in all these situations, people going through marital problems, people having problems with their children, people having problems with whatever they're having problems with, have they sat back and think, well, maybe it's my sins. Maybe it's a sin, or a group of sins, or a number of sins. This is why I'm going through this. This is why this is happening. As opposed to looking and wanting to point the blame, because a lot of us, this is what we want to do, right? We want to point blame. No, it was your fault. If you ain't said what you had said, I wouldn't have said what I had said. If you ain't did what you did, and I would have did what I had did, and that. Right? To the end of it. As opposed to what was said and what was done, perhaps, is a result of my sin. An individual is disobedient unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only to find that those who are supposed to obey him disobey him. He sees it in his wife don't obey him. He sees it in his children disrespect him. So on and so forth. He wondering, where's that from? Yeah, subhanallah. Look what you have done. Why don't you review your day? Review your day. Was you lowering your gaze when you was out there? Was you protecting your ears, or was you listening to music? Was you protecting your eyes, or was you watching television programs? What was you doing with your day? Was you protecting your tongue and saying things that are halal, or was you using your tongue in a foul manner? Was you talking to people inappropriately and so on and so forth? Look, what was you doing with your day? What were you doing with your limbs? Because what you seeing, because how many times, and I want the men to be honest. We're talking to the men right now. The women, you have your own examples. That I don't really relate to that like that, because I don't know, I'm not a woman. But for the men, you know how many times you come home and your wife is acting in the way, you say to yourself, where is this coming from? Right? Some of the old heads, we say, women crazy, man. Women crazy. Right? But think about it, because how many times you just perplexed? What she got an attitude for? Why is she talking to me like that? I just got here. Right? We saying this. I just came home. I didn't do anything. What you mad already for? Why you like this? Instead of Juyaanee jumping on her, oh, you so adab, you American women. Allah was that. Right? People go this easy stuff, right? You see, my mother said, subhanallah. But you reflect, think back, maybe, what did you do today? Worried about her, what did you do today? Now, and likewise for sisters, you know your cases and your scenarios, but reflect. What sin causes all this to happen like this? Reflect on the likes of this, because when a person reflects upon this, when individuals harm them, and they reflect and they understand that all of this is a result of the sins in which that they have put forward, then as opposed to busying themselves and being combating of individual, want to argue so much and prove a point and not, they will busy themselves with tawbah, with asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them by saying astaghfirullah, rabbi ighfirli, subhanallah, astaghfirullah. Na'am. Because all of this, they will make tawbah from the sin by way in which these individuals or these things have been set upon them and it happened to them due to the sin. And they would do this instead of busying themselves with blaming the person, busying themselves with faulting the person, blaming the person, or going in on the person, as they say, or attacking the person, or retaliation and the like. Naam. Shaykh al-Islam to me, he mentions, he says, فَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الْعَبْدَ يَقَعَ فِي النَّاسِ إِذَا أَذَاهُ وَلَا يَرْجَعْ إِلَى نَفْسِهِ بِاللَّوْمِ وَالْإِسْتِغْفَارِ فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ مُصِيبَتَهُ مُصِيبَةٌ حَقِيقِيَّةٌ. He says, so if you see that an individual, if you see that an abd, he attacks the people, for lack of a better term, he attacks the people, retaliation against the people when they harm him, and he does not return back to himself. If he busies himself with blaming the people and so on and so forth, his concentration upon the people and not returning back to his own self with blame. How many of us, somebody do something bad to us and we say, that's my fault? Almost none of us. Somebody do something bad to us, you say, nah, that was you, man. That's all you. How many of us, somebody do something, say something, bad to us, something bad happens to us, and we say, my fault. That's my fault. This is so odd. This is the way we should be. But this is so odd that if an individual were to do this, many of us will look upon him as if he's crazy. We'll look upon him as, what's wrong with that guy? Matter of fact, we'll come back and many of us will say, no, it's not your fault. He clearly was wrong. Correct? And this is not to take away the wrong from the individual who has wronged someone else. This is not to take away the oppression from the person who was an oppressor, because they're going to have to answer for what they have done. They're going to have to taste the repercussions for the evil that they put forward. This is no doubt about it. So it's not like no one's going to slide and get off scot-free and so on and so forth. Allah Ta'ala still going to hold them to account. But the point is, for us as individuals, what benefits us in that situation is not worrying about the wrong that someone else is going to have to answer for, but in fact is reflecting upon the wrong that we have done that has brought about them to do wrong unto us. That's the takeaway. That's what's going to benefit us as individuals. Not harping on what was done to us, but looking at what did we do wrong that had this come to us. Now, the Shaykh, he says, so if an individual is not looking and returning back to himself and blaming himself and busying himself with asking for forgiveness, he said, then know that the calamity of this individual is in actuality the true calamity. This is the true calamity, not what happened to you, because what happened to you pales in comparison to not returning back to yourself with blame and asking Allah to forgive you. It pales in comparison. Someone says something about you, boo-hoo. So what? Right? What does that, let's think about it. What does that really do at the end of the day? Nothing really, right? You may get upset, you might cry, you may hurt your feelings. Okay, you get over it. But if you didn't return back to yourself with blaming yourself and returning back to yourself with reviewing what you have done and making tawbah unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's worse than whatever they said about you. That's worse than whatever they did to you. That's worse than whatever they took from you. That's worse. They take something from you, you can't get it again. They take something from you, is that the end of anything? No. Okay, they took it. Took your phone. Okay, khalas, get another phone. Took your phone. Okay, khalas, you can't get another phone. So what? Yawm al-Qiyamah, you going to worry about what kind of phone you had? Huh? Yawm al-Qiyamah, you going to worry about who took your car, didn't take your car? That's going to be your concern, Yawm al-Qiyamah? No. Who got this money from you, that money from you? You don't care about none of that. But what's going to benefit you Yawm al-Qiyamah? Reviewing yourself, making tawbah unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeing what are your faults, what are your shortcomings, and rectifying yourself, rectifying the relationship between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what's going to benefit you. If you lose sight on that for this little bit of stuff, then that's the true calamity. The Shaykh says, فَإِذَا تَابَ وَاسْتَغْفَرَ وَقَالَ هَذَا بِذُنُوبِ. He said, but if he repents unto Allah and he asks Allah for forgiveness and he says, this is due to my sins, صارت في حقه نعمة. Then this calamity becomes, as relates to him, a blessing. A blessing. Because how often is it that we may lose track or we may become unmindful of certain sins until something bad happens and now we review ourselves. So you say due to causality, the cause produces what? An effect. What was the cause? A calamity happened. What's the effect? It caused a person to review himself. So one can say, okay, had it not been for that calamity, then he wouldn't have reviewed himself in that moment. So the calamity actually becomes a good thing. It brought my attention, it brought my light to something. So I realized, you know what? Subhanallah, I haven't fasted in like 3 months. Maybe I should start fasting again. Subhanallah, I don't even remember asking Allah to forgive me today. Think about it. How many of us right now in this day said astaghfirullah? How many of us? And how many times have we said it today? Think about that. On this day right now, how many of us have made dhikr? How many of us have said subhanallah how many times? How many of us have said subhanallah wa bihamdi how many times? How many of us have said Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah today, and how many times? How many times we said it? So if a person, when something bad happens to him and they repent and they ask Allah for forgiveness and they say, this is due to my sins, then for him this will be a ni'mah. وَقَالَ عَلِي ibn Abi Talib رضي الله تعالى عنه كلمة من جواهر الكلم أو من جواهر الكلام. He said a statement that is from the most precious of statements, the jewels of statements, and that is لا يرجون عبد إلا ربه ولا يخافن عبد إلا ذنبه. And that is, a slave does not desire and want for anything except for his Lord, and a slave is not scared of anything except for his sins. وروي عنه وعن غيره ما نزل بلاء إلا بذنب ولا رفع إلا بتوبة. That a calamity is not sent down except due to a sin, and it is not removed except due to repentance. It is not removed except due to repentance. The third point, Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he mentions, he says, وَثَالِث أَن يَشْهَدَ عَبْدُ حُسْنَ الثَّوَابَ الَّذِي وَعَدَهُ اللَّهِ لِمَنْ عَفَى وَالصَّبَرَ. He says is that an individual, he has to acknowledge, he has to see and testify to the good reward in which Allah, he has promised for the one who he pardons and he is patient. The one who he pardons and he is patient. The one who she pardons and she is patient. So after the individual, he looks to his relationship between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the individual realizes that all of this is happening to them due to their sins. Then, when they look, if they're going to turn their attention to the person who has harmed them, to the perpetrator, right? Then they should do so as relates to pardoning and as relates to being patient. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala, he says in Surah Shura, verse number 40, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٌ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. And the reward for an evil is the evil of his like. The reward of evil is evil of his like. فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And whoever he pardons and he rectifies, then his reward is upon Allah. إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. And verily Allah does not love those who transgress the bounds. Allah does not love the criminals. Allah does not love those who go too far. Naam. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he mentions, he says, وَلَمَّا كَانَ النَّاسُ عِنْدَ مُقَابَلَةِ الْأَذَى ثَلَاثَةُ الْأَقْسَامِ. He said, and for the human beings, and when it relates to retaliation, for lack of a better term, or relates to dealing with a harm, then there are three types. There are three types. They're either going to be a zalim. They're going to be an oppressor. One who goes too far. Who is the zalim? Who is the oppressor? Someone does wrong to you, right? You have three options. You have three options. Someone does wrong to you, you got three options. The first of those options is the worst of them, and that is a person, he's a zalim. يَأْخُذْ فَوْقَ حَقِّهِ. That he takes more than his right. The oppressor, the transgressor, the one who transgressed the bounds, the one who goes too far, he takes more than his right. Now I want you to really pay attention to this, because especially us here in the West, now, again, if it's applicable to other people, then I apologize for not including you inside of what I'm about to say. But I know it's applicable for those here in the West. When someone does something wrong to you, then we are taught, we were raised in the West to go beyond. If they slap you, punch them. They push you, knock them down. Right? That's what Juyaanee, it's an evil rearing. It's an evil rearing. Let's not say it's something other than it is. It's evil. Right? But that's how people have been reared. But it's important that we acknowledge the likes of these diseases and the likes of these of this evil in which was reared into us when we was growing up, so that what? So we can fight it. We can fight it, so that we could expel it from our character. So we know what to move away from. We know this is not okay. But this is what they're taught. Someone smack you, punch them. They push you, knock them down. They hit you, make sure they never want to touch you again. Right? Do I got to explain what that means? What that entails? You understand? That's what we're taught. This is the zalim. This is one who has transgressed the bounds. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to come back, we're going to look more at this, but Allah ta'ala in the ayat, He says, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٌ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهُ, and the reward of the evil is the evil of his like. The evil of his like. Evil for evil. Same kind, same duration, same extent, so on and so forth. Naam? Wait. So the first type is a person, he's a zalim, he goes too far. He takes more than what his right is. The second type, muqtasid, يَأْخُذْ بِالْقَدْرِ حَقِّهِ, he's the one who takes in accordance to his right. He takes his right and then that's it. And then the third is a muhsin, يَعْفُ وَيَتْرُكُ حَقَّهُ. This one, he is the best of them. Yani, he's a good doer. He's a good doer in that he pardons and he abandons his right. He pardons and he abandons his right. Right? وذكر أقسام الثلاثة في هذه الآية. He says, and all of these three types are mentioned here in this ayah. فأولها للمقتصدين. The first of them is for those who take their right. And that is in Allah Ta'ala's statement, فَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةً سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. And the reward of an evil is the evil of his like. This is the one who takes his right. Someone did something to him, the exact same thing is done back to them. To the exact same extent, to the exact same measure. To the exact same extent and to the exact same measure. We're not going to have time to reach this point in the book, but Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he brings up this point later on in the book, so as to show that even in this is dangerous. Even in this, a person should take caution. Because who from amongst us could really guarantee that if someone does something to us, that we're going to do the same thing back to them to the exact same extent? Because to go beyond, then you go beyond being one who takes his right to one who takes his right and more. You go to being a zalim. So Shaykh Islam cautions that although, yes, you could take your right back, exactly your right, but who from amongst us could really guarantee that his measure will be as so precise that he will take exactly his right and nothing more? You understand? And that cautions you, because then you enter into being a zalim, and the zalim is the worst of them. Allah Ta'ala, He mentioned them last. In the ayah, they mentioned last. And that is in Allah Ta'ala's statement that Shaykh Islam to me is going to mention. And that is Allah Ta'ala, He says, إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. That very Allah does not love the transgressors. Allah does not love the criminals. Allah does not love those who take their right and more. So all of this, what? It pushes us to the second type. And the second type, as the Shaykh he mentions, he says, وَوَسَطُهَا لِلسَّابِقِينَ. And the middle is for those who have done the best, those who are outstanding, those who preceded. And they are what? They are those who, as Allah Ta'ala says, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ. Whoever pardons and he forgives, فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Then his reward is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They mentioned secondly, and وَآخِرُهَا, and the last of them, لِلظَّالِمِينَ, are for the transgressors. And then the Shaykh he mentions, he says, وَيَشْهَدُ نِدَاء الْمُنَادِي يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. He said, and he should acknowledge that a caller will call out on the day of judgment, أَلَا لِيَقُمْ مَنْ وَجَبَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And none will stand up except for those who Allah will reward them. Their reward is upon Allah. They're the only ones that will stand up. فَلَا يَقُمْ إِلَّا مَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ. And the only ones that will stand up at this time are those who had pardoned and those who had rectified. وَإِذَا شَهِدَ مَعَ ذَلِكَ فَوْتَ الْأَجْرِ بِانْتِقَامٍ وَاسْتِفَاءٍ سَهُلَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّبْرُ وَالْعَفُوِ. He says, and if he were to realize that if he were to realize this fact and this reality, and that he will lose out on the reward. He will lose out on the reward if he were to seek revenge, and if he would seek to take back his right and to take his right and so on and so forth, he will lose the reward. So even for the one who takes his haqq back, once he takes his haqq back, he loses eligibility for getting the reward of those who pardon and rectify. He loses that reward. He's not eligible no more because he took his haqq back. So those who go beyond the bounds, and of course they're not going to get that. Now, so when an individual gets revenge, he seeks to get even, he seeks to get his, or she seeks to get hers, then they lose out on this reward. If an individual is looking at the reward and they realize this, then it's easy for them to abandon retaliation and to abandon seeking revenge. It's easy for them to do this. Naam. And it's easy for them to instead be patient and to pardon. Sheikh Abdul Razak, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad, Hafidhahumullah Ta'ala, he mentions, he says, هذا الأمر الثالث. He said, this is the third category. This is the third point that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah he mentions. And يشهد العبد الحسن الثواب, that an individual, he looks to the good reward. ما أعده الله سبحانه وتعالى في هذا المقام مقام الصبر على أذى الخلق, that which Allah has prepared for the one who establishes the station, meaning the station of being patient upon the harms of the people. للصابرين على الأذاهم, those who are patient upon their harm, those who are patient upon the harm of the people. وَلِلْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and those who pardon the people. Those who pardon the people. In order to pardon the people, you can only do that when they do wrong. Listen, when a calamity happens and people come against you and they act treacherously towards you and so on and so forth, this gives you an opportunity to be patient and to pardon. Whereas, if no one does anything bad to you, no one does anything foul to you, if no one does anything transgressing to you, then you will never have the opportunity to be patient upon transgression and to pardon their transgression. You understand? So when these things happen, don't look and don't put your focus on the individual who has oppressed you, who has hurt you, who has harmed you, but rather use it as an opportunity to pardon and to forgive. Because pardoning and forgiving, these are great acts of worship. These are great acts of worship. Now I want to take it back now to a more domestic situation. I want to take it back now to the husband and the wife. Because of course, if someone on the street, some Joe Schmo, he harms you and so on and so forth, it gives you the opportunity to be patient and to pardon. Naam. And we understand the good that will come from that and the good repercussions that will come from that, and that is encouraged. Bila shakku bila right. So how much more so now when it comes between the husband and the wife? Because of course, there are going to be times where the husband is going to harm the wife. He's going to transgress the bounds against the wife. He's going to act in a treacherous manner towards the wife and so on and so forth. But in all of that, this gives her an opportunity to, one, look to her relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, two, look to her sins and that which she has put forward, but three, also gives her the opportunity to exercise this great act of worship of being patient and pardoning. Likewise for the husband, yes, the wife, she's going to say some stuff to you sometimes that is not right. She's going to treat you in a manner sometimes that's really foul, but it gives you the opportunity to do all the things that were aforementioned, and then to what? To pardon and to forgive. Now, when you pardon and you forgive and you are patient with your spouse, look of how much good comes from that. Look at how many marriages could be saved from that. Correct? Look at how many marriages are destroyed because what? Because people don't want to let it go. Right? They don't want to let it go. It'd be 5 months later. You remember you told me that day? They don't want to let it go. You're like, why are you mad for? You remember? And you're like, you remember. That was like 5 months ago. They don't want to let it go. And now you're having an argument 5 months later about something that you done said 5 months ago. You forgot you said it and did it. Right? Correct? Because they don't want to let it go. How many marriages get ruined for that? How many marriages get ruined when people come to the point where they say, you know what? We can't move forward no more because there's too much baggage. There's too much baggage. We went through too much. We got too much bad history. There's too much baggage. We can't continue. It's too much. Why? Because they didn't let any of that go. They didn't pardon any of that. Whereas if they would have pardoned half of that, Allahu A'lam what the situation may be. But how much good results from marriages when these things are implemented? How many good results from friendships when these things are implemented? How many friendships are destroyed because of one thing that they can't get over? They were friends 20 some odd years. One statement, one incident, one lack of judgment, one blow up, and now we can't be friends no more because you won't let that one thing go. Correct? How many relationships are ruined because of this? Siblings stop talking to one another because of something they can't let go. Whereas if we become individuals who will pardon, we become individuals who forgive, we become individuals who learn to overlook and so on and so forth, then what? This will enhance all of the aspects of our lives. Now, again, Shaykh al-Islam, there's so much benefit, and he mentioned inside this book, that we're not going to be able to get time for. But from the benefit that comes from that is that what, as Shaykh al-Islam said, he mentions, al-jaza min jins al-amal, that the reward for an action will be according to the deed that went forward. In other words, it'll be appropriate. Now, it's like saying the punishment for a crime will be appropriate to the crime that was committed. Likewise, the reward of something will be appropriate to the action that was put forward. Meaning, if an individual pardons and forgives his brothers, pardons and forgives the creation, then from the reward of that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardons and forgives that person for the sins he has committed. Let me say this again. If an individual pardons and forgives his brothers and his sisters for harming him, then as a reward, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardons and forgives that individual for his sins. That right there is enough. Correct? That right there is enough. Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions, he says, مَا زَادَ اللَّهُ عَبَدًا بِعَفْوٍ إِلَّا عِزًّا. It's a powerful hadith. Rawahu Muslim, in hadith Abi Hurairah, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allah does not increase a slave due to pardoning except in honor and nobility. Izzah. You want a person to be honored, have nobility, have the upper hand, and so on and so forth. Allah grants that to an individual due to his pardoning. That when a person pardons people, he forgives people, at the end of the affair, they have the upper hand. They are the ones who attain nobility. They are the ones who attain a high status. Whereas those who want to seek revenge, you hit me, I hit you, tit for tat. How do we look at those people? You are a petty, small individual. You are a petty, small individual. But for the person who the harm can happen to them, and they have the ability to retaliate, they have the ability to conquer, and they say, I'm going to let it go. It's fine. Forgive you. I'm going to let that one slide. I pardon you for whatever. It's okay. How are they looked at as, how do we look at them? That person is noble. That person could have retaliated. That person could have argued and was more eloquent and would have outspoken the person. And they let it go. Wow. That's upstanding. This is the reality. In any event, Shaykh Abdul Razak, he mentions it in depth and detail. He goes over this hadith later on in the book in more depth and more detail, but we don't have time to get to it, so I still wanted to mention it. In any event, Shaykh Abdul Razak, he goes on and he says, he says, وَهُمَا مَرْتَبَتَانِ مَيْ الصَّبْرِ, those who are patient and those who forgive. إِحْدَاهُمَا أَعْلَى مِنَ الْأُخْرَى, one of them is greater than the other. Because we got two. We got the martaba of sabr, and then we got the martaba of al-afu, of pardoning. One is greater than the other. One is greater than the other. The Shaykh, he says, الأولى مرتبة الصبر. الصبر على أذاهم is being patient upon their harm. Being patient upon their harm. What? Which one? Walaikum salam to Allah. Being patient upon the harm and then pardoning the harm. Which one is better? Which one is better? Huh? Pardoning. You agree? You agree? Being patient. You think being patient is better? Okay. Anybody agree with being patient? Being patient. Being patient. Patient. No. Huh? I'm gonna leave you in suspense like 2 more seconds. Alright, right. Shaykh Islam mentions, he says that the first of them is that a person is patient. He's patient upon the harms. Naam? He's patient upon the harms. Person does something to you, you're patient. You don't pardon him. You still want to get yours, but you're patient. Patient. Shaykh Islam, he says, وَأَعْلَى مِنْهَا أَنْ يَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. He says, and higher than that is you pardon them. You forget it. So forget it. It's done. Whatever. He said that's a higher status. Naam. And the reason, naam, it's like our brother mentions al khair, is that what? Is that sabr is wajib. You gotta be patient anyway. Person does something to you, you gotta be patient. Think about this. Think about this. Think about this. This is one of the sayings in English that's very stupid to me. Is when a person says, "Oh, I can't wait to see you," right? Let's say they're all the way in Sacramento. We here, Compton, right? The person says, "Oh, I can't wait to see you." I'm driving up there now. But you can't wait. Do you have a choice? Huh? Do you have a choice? You have no choice but to wait. You have no choice but to be patient. You can't see me right now anyway. Can't wait to eat dinner with you. Right? That's 5 hours from now. Do you have a choice? You still gotta wait 5 hours. You have no choice but to wait. That's why that saying to me is a dumb saying. But in any event, you have no choice but to wait. So when stuff happens, right, it doesn't behoove the individual to not be patient. You have no choice but to be patient. You have no choice but to be patient. So you only end up cheating yourselves by not being patient. The Prophet ﷺ, he explained that the affair of the believer is amazing. The affair of the believer is amazing. Amazing. Naam. وَإِنَّ أَمْرَهُ كُلَّهُ خَيْرٌ. And that his affair, all of it is good. And that's only for what? No one except for the believer. إِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ سَرَّاء شَكَرٌ فَكَانَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. That if easy times reach him, he's thankful, and that's better for him. وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ ضَرَّاء صَبَرٌ وَكَانَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And if harm touches him, he is patient, and that is better for him. You see, when a person is patient, when a believer is patient, then they get rewarded for their patience, because patience is ibadah. They get rewarded for their patience. A calamity strikes, he's patient, he gets rewarded. But another person, calamity strikes, believer, calamity strikes, they're not patient, they don't get rewarded. What do? They cheated themselves, because in any event, whether they're patient or not being patient, it doesn't change the situation at hand. It is what it is. It doesn't change anything. The only thing that changes is that what? If you're patient, you get rewarded for the calamity. If you're not patient, then it's a calamity upon calamity. It's calamity upon calamity. Naam. وَمَنْ سَخِطَ فَعَلَيْهِ سُخْطُ. And whoever he is angry with the decree of Allah, then upon him is the anger of Allah. So by not being patient, he destroys himself. Whereas all he had to do was be patient, which he had no choice but to be patient anyway, because, and then he gets rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعِذَمَ الْجَزَاء مَعَ عِذَمِ الْبَلَاء. The greater the calamity, the greater the reward. For what? For the one who is patient, and he anticipates the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah, he says, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. And those who are pardoning of the people, those who pardon the people, Wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah, he loves those who do good. Allah loves those who do good. Due to time, we have to skip a little bit. We can't go over and mention everything. But in the ayah, as aforementioned, all of the categories they are mentioned of the individuals, all three categories. Those who exact their rights and they get their right back. Those who pardon and they give up their right. And those who go beyond and they take more than their right. Allah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ba'd. There's so much benefit that's contained inside of this book, so many life lessons and things that we are in vital need of hearing. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, Shaykh Abdul Razak, he mentions that he had mentioned وَيَشْهَدُ أَيْ فِي بَابِ الْحُسْنِ الثَّوَابِ, is that a person he acknowledges and he sees, meaning from the standpoint of getting a goodly reward, and that is a hadith. نادى المنادي يوم القيامة, that on the day of judgment a caller will call, ألا ليقم من وجب أجره على الله, and that none will stand except for those whom their reward is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَيَقُومُ الْعَافُونَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, so those who used to pardon the people, they will be the only ones that stand up. يعني كما في تتمة الحديث, as it comes as the hadith is completed. This hadith يعني أخرجه Ibn Abi Hatim وغيره, is collected by Ibn Abi Hatim and other than him. However, as the Shaykh he mentions, في إسناده كلام, there's some speak about its chain, right? So this hadith is not sound to use as a proof and evidence. The Shaykh he mentions, but the meaning of it is true. The meaning of it is true in the sense that for those who they pardon and they rectify, then for them the reward is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for meaning those al-afuna an nas, those who pardon the people, then their reward is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We get that same meaning from this ayah. As Allah ta'ala he says, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ, and whoever he forgives and he pardons, then his reward is upon Allah. And what is meant by his reward is upon Allah, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them with a tremendous reward. A tremendous reward, those who they pardon the people. Fourthly, what I'd like to mention, and this will be the last point, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, and that is that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he mentions, and this is very important. It's very important, ya Ahl Sunnah, or people of the Sunnah, is very important, because you being harmed by people is not restricted to Ahl Bid'ah. It's not restricted to the kuffar. It's not restricted to the end of it. But you will also be harmed by your brothers upon the Sunnah. Yes, the Salafis are also going to harm you. Na'am, Ahlul Sunnah, they will also harm you, individuals from amongst them. And we are trying to build and grow communities. We're trying to build and grow bonds and brotherhood and so on and so forth. It is important that we maintain these bonds and we do not become as those individuals who look for any excuse to sever a relationship. Now, some individuals look for any excuse to sever a relationship. Any excuse. We shouldn't be individuals like this. Now, we should be individuals who are striving to hold on, especially here in America. Especially here in America. If we turn our backs on each other, Ahlul Sunnah, we turn our backs on each other, the Salafis, we turn our back on the Salafis, where are you going? Where are you going to go? You're going to be by yourself? You're going to be your own man on your own island? That's it? You're going to be by yourself? You think you're going to win like this? Where are you going to go? You're going to go to Ahlul Bid'ah? You're going to go to the Kuffar, wa'iyadhu billah? You're going to go to Ahlul Bid'ah, wa'iyadhu billah? Where are you going to go? Person get mad, it's only one Salafi masjid in the day. What are you going to say? I'm not going to masjid no more? So what masjid are you going to go to then? The masjid of the Hizbi, Ikhwani, Qutbi, Sururi, Tablighi? Where are you going? You understand? We have to learn how to be patient with one another. We have to learn how to overlook the issues. We have to learn how to overlook the harm that we may do to one another. We're going to harm one another. We're humans. You may not always catch me on my best day. I may say to you something that hurts your feelings. I may not mean it. I might mean it. Because I'm a human being. You have to be patient with me. You have to advise me. Say, brother, subhanAllah, you shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be saying hurtful things to people like that. Fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It could be that I didn't realize it. I didn't realize the tone of my voice. I didn't realize, the mannerism in which I was speaking. I didn't realize it. Or it could have been, astaghfirullah, you're right, man. Because I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly how hurtful I was being. But because I was a human, I got weak and my desires overtook me. That's what I did. Astaghfirullah. I need to go apologize, make it up to this brother, man. Buy him some coffee, take him out for something, give him a present. Really try to make amends. I messed up. But you give the opportunity for that. But from us, because sometimes it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes some people, you may not get that reaction. But from us, how are we able to let this go? Apology or not. How are we able to let this go? Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he mentioned as the fourth point, he says, وَيَشْهَدَ أَنَّهُ إِذَا عَفَى وَأَحْسَنَ, is that he has to realize, he has to see that if he were to pardon and act goodly towards, your brother hurt you, he says something hurtful to you, so on and so forth, to the end of it, then you pardon him and you act in a good manner towards him. أَوْرَثَهُ ذَلِكَ, what will be a result? What will come in the wake of that? What will come in the wake of that? And what that would lead to by partying and acting in a good manner towards the individual? Min salamatul qalb. His heart will become free, will become safe from what? Li'ikhwanihi. His heart will become free. There will be nothing in his heart for his brothers. وَنَقَائِهِ مِنْ الْغِشْ وَالْغِلْ وَطَلَبِ الْإِنْتِقَامِ وَإِرَادَةِ الشَّرِّ. His heart will become free and it will be removed from his heart. If he pardons his brothers and if he is good towards his brothers and just and truthfully, then what? It will be removed from his heart. He won't have inside of his heart any type of deceit or trickery, or he wouldn't hold any grudge, or he wouldn't be seeking to gain revenge, and he wouldn't be seeking to what? For evil to reach his brother. This is for a person that truly pardons, not the fake pardoners. You got people that come and, it's okay, okay, it's over, we on a new page, but in their heart, they liars. In their heart, they still got malice, they still plotting. They're only saying what they're saying so you drop your guard because they want to get you. You understand? You got evil people like this. But we're saying individuals who they truly pardon and they truly let it go and they truly act in a good manner. Then it will be removed from their heart any type of deceit, trickery, grudge, looking to gain revenge or wanting and intending evil for your brother. وَحَصَلَهُ, and they will come for him مِنْ حِلَاوَةِ الْعَفُ مَا يَزِيدُ لَذَّتِهِ وَمَنْفَعَتَهُ أو ما يزيد لذته ومنفعته عاجلا وآجلا على منفعة الحاصل له بانتقام أضعافا مضاعفة. He says, and that if he does this, he will attain by his pardoning the sweetness of pardoning and the sweetness of forgiveness that will increase the sweetness and increase the benefit, short term and long term. It will increase the benefit, and it is more of a benefit that he will gain from the benefit that he will gain from seeking revenge. The benefit that he gains from forgiving and the benefit that he gains from pardoning is a benefit that is so many more multiplied times over. أضعافا مضاعفة. It is so many much more multiplied. وَيَدْخُلُ فِي قَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى, and he will enter into Allah Ta'ala's statement, وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and Allah loves those who do good. فَيَصِيرُ مَحْبُوبًا لِلَّهِ, so by doing this, he will become one who is beloved unto Allah. That's enough right there. You pardon, you forgive, Allah loves you, that's enough. You don't need nothing else. Forget what you did, I don't care about that. Right? It's enough that Allah loves you. But وَيَصِيرُ حَالُهُ حَالَ مَنْ, listen to this example that Shaykh al-Islam brings, subhanallah. He says, and he will be like the one, he will be in a situation like the situation of a person, man أُخِذَ مِنْهُ dirhamun, a person who is taken from him 1 dirham. 1 dirham is taken from him. Naam. 1 dirham. You get me? 1 dirham is taken, like someone taking me $1. Okay? فَعُوضَ عَلَيْهِ أَلُوفًا مِنْ دَنَانِيرٍ. When a person, he pardons for something, he pardons a person, he forgives, then he's like a person who 1 dirham was taken from him, and because he pardoned, in return he gets back thousands. Or again, a person takes from you $1 and you pardon and you get back thousands of dollars. If this happened voluntarily, correct, we'll be pardoning all day long. We'll be looking for people to do something bad to us. Say something bad, I can pardon you. Right? That'd be your job, right? Correct? So know that that which is with Allah is greater. That which is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater. This is for those who pardon. This is what's going to help build and maintain communities, families, relationships. This is what's going to help you maintain your sanity. This is what's going to help you attain success and prosperity. Naam. Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah, he says, فَحِينَ إِذًا يَفْرَحُ بِمَا مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ أَعْظَمَ فَرَحًا يَكُونَ. He says, and thus he will be happy with that which Allah has bestowed upon him and blessed him with the greatest and the full extent that an individual could be happy. And that all comes from what? From pardoning for injustices and harms that have been committed and done against us, and in particular those harms that have come on the hands of our brothers. And there's so much more benefit that is contained inside of this book. I encourage all of those who know Arabic to strive to read this book, to study this book, to contemplate over this book, and especially that with the ta'liqat, with the explanatory notes of the Fadilat al-Shaykh, of our Shaykh, Shaykh Abdul Razak bin Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, hafidhahumullah ta'ala, to go over this book with the ta'liqat of Shaykh Abdul Razak. It has been translated? Oh, ahsant, I didn't know that. And it's been translated. So, naam, get the translation and read it. Study it and read it. Naam. اسم الكتاب هو الأمور المعينة على الصبر على أذى الخلق. أذى الخلق. للشيخ الإسلام تيمية. أذى الخلق. نعم. What's the translation? You know the translation of it is called? Something about dealing with the harms of the people by Shaykh al-Islam. Naam. So look for, that's not the exact title, right? Not the exact title, but in meaning, you know, something dealing with the harms of the people by Shaykh al-Islam and Taymiyyah. Inshallah ta'ala, look for that. And look for that and study it and go over it and contemplate and read it with your brothers, read it with your families. Naam. And strive to implement it and strive to really benefit from the guidance that is contained therein, because it is vital for success, it is vital for prosperity, it is vital for the health of the Salafi community. It's vital. It's of extreme importance. It's of extreme importance. And just reflect on those problems and those situations that come amongst Ahlul Sunnah, that come amongst the Salafis, and you will find that all of those problems that were mentioned and that are mentioned and so on and so forth, if these things were to be applied, what Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah mentions here, they all go away. They all go away. Now, because Subhanallah al-Azim, Shaykh Hassan Abdul Wahhab al-Banna, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentioned to me one time, he said, Ya Abdis Salaam, he said, you people turn these problems like they something big. That's what he said. He said, المشكلات هذه عندكم كبيرة أم لا? Oh, he said, these problems you have with you, they big or what? He said, are they issues in Aqidah? I said, no. He said, are there issues in Minhaj? I said, no. He said, the issues dealing with the deen? I said, no. He said, so then what's the problem? Right? What's the problem? If a person can come back and say, it's not dealing with the deen, it's not dealing with Aqidah, it's not dealing with Minhaj, So then what's the problem? Why are these people separating from these people taking a mawqif from these people boycotting these people? Based on what? That's just something to think about. The exact title of the book in English is Helpful Guidelines in Enduring People's Harm. Helpful Guidelines in Enduring People's Harm. Now, this is the name of the book in English. Inshallah ta'ala, I encourage everyone to get it. Brothers, I thank you for extending this invitation. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for all of your efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of you. أسأل الله تعالى أن يوفقني وإياكم لما يحبه ويرضى وأن يجعلنا من الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه وأن يجعلنا مباركا حيثما كنا وأن يجعلنا ممن إذا أعطي شكر وإذا ابتلي صبر وإذا أذنب استغفر فإن هؤلاء ثلاثة عنوان السعادة. جزاكم الله خيرا. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.